magistrlik dissertatsiya himoyasini boshlashga ruxsat berishingizni so'rayman. Universitet rektorining buyrug'iga asosan lingvistika ingliz tili magistratura mutaxassisligida magistrlik dissertatsiya himoyalarini o'tkazish uchun quyidagi tartibda demak komissiya shakllantirilgan. Komissiya raisi Toyirova Nargiza Isaqovna, Farg'ona davlat universiteti ingliz tili o'qitish metodikasi kafedrasi mudiri, filologiya fanlari bo'yicha falsafa doktori. Rais o'rinbosari Do'stboyeva Nargiza Turg'unpo'latovna, Namangan davlat universiteti ingliz filologiyasi fakulteti dotsenti. Tojiboyev G'ayrat Shavdarovich, a'zo, Namangan davlat universiteti ingliz tili o'qitish metodikasi kafedrasi mudiri. Alimova Ma'mura Habibullayevna, a'zo, Namangan davlat universiteti ingliz tili o'qitish metodika amaliy ingliz tili kafedrasi mudiri. Hoshimova Dildora Madaminovna, Namangan muhandislik texnologiya instituti chet tillar kafedrasi mudiri, filologiya fanlari doktori, DSc. Ergasheva Gulnora Ne'matjonovna, a'zo, Namangan viloyat xalq ta'limi xodimlarini qayta tayyorlash va malakasini oshirish hududiy markazi tillar o'qitish metodikasi kafedrasi katta o'qituvchisi. Ismoilova Muborak Isroilovna, O'zbekiston ingliz tili o'qituvchilar assotsiatsiyasi Namangan bo'limi rahbari, Namangan muhandislik qurilish instituti qoshidagi akademik litsey katta o'qituvchisi, hamda Sharifa Saboxon Abdullajonovna, kotiba, Namangan universiteti ingliz tili o'qitish metodikasi kafedrasi katta o'qituvchisi. Shuningdek, bugungi himoyamizda ishtirok etishyapti O'zbekiston davlat jahon tillar universiteti kafedrasi mudiri, pedagogika fanlari bo'yicha falsafa doktori, PhD Gulyamova Mavluda Hamidovna, hamda Andijon davlat universiteti katta o'qituvchisi, pedagogika fanlari bo'yicha falsafa doktori Isroilova Dildoraxon Muxtarovnalar bugungi himoyamizda ishtirok etishyapti. Demak, birinchi navbatni hozir biz Hasan va Gulnoza Dilshadovnaga berishimiz kerak edi, lekin Gulnoza Dilshadovna hozirgina men bilan bog'lanib, bu yerda elektr uzilishi sodir bo'lganligini ma'lum qildi va u yo'lga chiqdi, yetib kelib qoladi. Shu sababli hozirgi navbatni biz Qodirov Azamat Muhriddinovichga beramiz. Ilmiy mavzusi boshlang'ich sinflarda ingliz tili leksikasini o'qitish xususiyatlari, kommunikativ yondashuv asosida. So, characteristics of teaching English vocabulary in the primary classrooms on the basis of communicative approach. So, reviewers from Namangan State University, Ubaydullah Shuhrat Narzullayevich, and from Andijan State University, Isroilova Dildoraxon Muxtarovna. So, Azbek, Azamat, it's your turn. Begin, please.
Good afternoon, dear teachers, dear our friends, and the members of the Commission Board. First of all, I am going to express my sincere gratitude to all who contributed to our reaching this final stage of our two-year course, and we are very glad now. And let me say my thanks to the members of the Commission Board who are separating their precious time to listen to our speeches. And my name is Qodirov Azamat Muhriddinovich, and my research work is dedicated to the study of the peculiarities of teaching English vocabulary to the pupils of primary classes in our secondary schools, based on the communicative approach. While doing my research, I particularly focus on the effectiveness of using communicative technologies in the English lessons. And while I am working in my research, I followed the following plan, and my research work consists of introductory part and 3 chapters, and overall conclusion, and the list of the used literature. And at the end of the coursework, I have provided some references. And in our country, great attention is being paid to education and upbringing of younger generation as one of the state priorities. The development and strengthening of international socio-political, economic, and cultural ties for our country, which plays an increasingly important role in the world community, requires the young people who create its future to master foreign languages. So vocabulary is very important part of teaching foreign languages, because vocabulary serves as a foundation for the learners to learn, to master the other skills such as listening, speaking, writing, and reading. Without knowing the necessary amount of vocabulary or lexical units, one cannot achieve some good results in learning a foreign language. And our president emphasizes the importance of teaching foreign languages in the video selector meeting in May. And our president insisted on the school leavers to know at least 2 languages when they are leaving the school. And it also puts a great burden on on us, because we are the future teachers of languages, and in order for our pupils to learn to master a language well when they are leaving the school, the foundation, the basis will be laid when they are studying in primary classes. And to master a language, it's very important to learn and to have the necessary amount of vocabulary, to have a necessary amount of word stock. There are 4 skills that should be mastered by students in learning English, and vocabulary is the most important. It can be said that it's the most important part of learning a language. Next, the reasons for the study. And first, teaching vocabulary to young learner is not an easy task. Second, teaching English to young learners is very much different from teaching adults, because we have begun teaching foreign languages from primary classes from the second decade of our century, after the presidential resolution number 1875. And our teachers haven't got much experience in this field. Yes, they have acquired necessary experience. They have attained necessary experience, but as a learner themselves, they haven't had this process when they were a child. Third, young learner can easily get bored if the condition of teaching English process is monotonous and not creative. And last, the teacher needs to prepare good teaching strategies and a suitable material in order to gain the target of language teaching to the children. So we know that from the first class, we are required to teach English with the help of games and game activities. And pupils are not required to write or to read when they are studying in the first grade. But from the second grade, they begin to master other skills like reading and writing. And in order to reach our objectives, we should make sure that our pupils has acquired necessary amount of word stock. Then the objectives of the study is to analyze the advantages and disadvantages of using communicative pedagogical methods in teaching English vocabulary to young learners at our schools, and to describe the problems of the implementation of teachers' strategies in teaching English vocabulary to young learners using communicative technologies, and to describe problem solving of the implementation of teacher strategies in teaching English vocabulary to young learners. And when we finish the research, we have got, we have known that the following benefits we can get, and someone who reads our dissertation can get the following benefits. So the findings of this research will give good information related to the usage of communicative technologies in teaching English vocabulary to young learners, and the findings of this research gives a profitable description to any further research which wants to study the same case. So this study becomes a helpful information and useful reference for the next study. And while doing our research work, I have 6 articles. I have had 6 articles published in the materials of international, Republican, and local levels. And in the articles, if you read the articles, you can get some information about the results or about my findings during my research and experimental works, which was held in secondary school number 20, situated in Turakurgan district. And background to teach vocabulary. So vocabulary is integrated in the 4 skills. So to learn, for the pupils to master the 4 main skills, they need to learn they need to learn a lot of words in order to get some certificates, international certificates, which our government is requiring. And principles for teaching vocabulary. So here I have provided 6 principles to teach English vocabulary, and also they can be used both working with adults, also when we are working with young learners. And the first chapter is devoted to the theoretical basis of teaching English lexical units on communicative approach. And in the first part of the first chapter, I have written some information about psychological, personal, and age characteristics of the learners of primary classes. And characteristics of young learners, we know that young learners, the pupils of from the 1st and the 4th classes have just come from the street. Yes, they may have attended to kindergarten, but we should acknowledge that half of the pupils haven't got access to attend kindergarten, and when they have begun their schooling, it's very important for the teacher to take their age characteristics into account. So young learners are active and creative, and they like to play, because we should know that they are still children. And young learners learn through doing. And they have very short attention and concentration span. And also they need clear directions. When we are working with young learners, it's very important to pay attention to the clarity of our instructions. And in the second part of the first chapter, I have written about the importance of using communicative technologies while teaching English vocabulary. First, the founders of communicative approach are known as Noam Chomsky and Del Hymes, and they are scholars. They are outstanding scholars, The goal of language teaching is to develop what Himes referred to as communicative competence. So Himes says that the main goal of teaching a language is for the pupils to master communicative competence. And according to the communicative approach, in order for learning to take place, emphasis must be put on the importance of these variables: communication, tasks, and meaning. And the third chapter deals with the psychological and linguistic features of teaching English lexical units to the pupils of the primary classes. And the second chapter is devoted to the methodological classification and the meaning, content of the education of the textbooks made for the primary classes. And here you can see the textbooks recommended by our Ministry of the Public Education to be taught in primary classes. So, and the textbook consists of three subparts, and the first is the student's book, the second student's workbook, and the third one's teacher's methodological manual. And also multimedia resources are provided. And here in the second part of the second chapter, we can see the amount of the vocabulary lexical units which the pupils of the primary classes should acquire while they are studying in primary classes. So vocabulary here is divided into three types, like active vocabulary, passive vocabulary, and potential vocabulary. And as you see, nearly all 500 words which must be acquired by the leavers of the fourth grade are active vocabulary, are words which include active vocabulary. So we know that active vocabulary are the words which speaker can freely use in their speech. When whether someone when we active vocabulary are the words which we can easily recognize when we listen, when we and we can freely use when we speak. And here the second part is here is given the analysis of the exercises which aims to teach English lexics. And while I pay attention.
Reglamentimiz o'sha boshida aytib o'tildi, 10 minut ajratildi hamda 10 minut muhokamaga ajratildi. O'shaning uchun ham Azamat qisqaroq qilib xulosaga o'ta qoling. Nutqingiz juda chiroyli bo'lgani uchun men bo'lganini sal istihola qilib turgandim. Tajriba sinov ishlari haqida gapiring.
So experimental works has been carried out in the school number 20, which is located in Turakurgan district, and for experiment I have chosen the subgroups of a group. We know that when we are teaching foreign languages, we usually divide a whole class into two subgroups. So I have taken the A group as a experimental group, and the second group as a comparative group. But I haven't found the necessary term for it. So I have chosen class 1D, class 3B, and class 4A. And each subgroup has 13 and 14 students. And the experimental classes have taken pre-experimental and post-experimental tests. And while doing our research, we have conducted surveys among the pupils and parents of the pupils in the experimental groups. And here in the in the slide, you can see the diagram which shows us the results of our tests, results of our surveys, our experiments. And from the results which I got during the research, I concluded that using communicative technologies will be very helpful to increase the quality of our teaching English vocabulary. And here in the research, in the tests, I made the test as a picture test. The test consists of the questions which is made up using pictures. Here in the tests, pupils are provided some pictures depicting some objects which they have learned, or some household chores, or some vocabulary related to the materials they have had in their lessons. And as you see, here we can see some rise in the effectiveness, in the quality of their mastering English vocabulary. Thank you for listening to my presentation. If you have any questions, you are welcome. I'll try to answer the questions.
Rahmat, Azamat, juda chiroyli va batafsil nutqingiz uchun. Buning uchun albatta ilmiy rahbaringiz Musirov sohibjon Abdupattayevichga minnatdorchilik bildiramiz, chunki oxirgi kunlarda himoyalarga nisbatan ancha mukammal ishlardan biri sifatida e'tirof etishimiz mumkin. Demak, muhokamaga o'tsak, savollar bo'lsa, marhamat. Nargiza Turgunpo'latovna, savollaringiz bormi?
I have a question, may I?
Isroil va Dildoraxon. Marhamat, sizning savolingizni eshitamiz. Isroil va Dildora, demak, muxtarini Andijon davlat universitetidan pedagogika fanlari bo'yicha falsafa doktori. Marhamat.
Azamat, thank you for your good presentation. My question for you, how did you consider teaching new vocabulary with different learning styles? Because in teaching process, we bump with different learning styles of pupils, right? How did you consider to learn new vocabulary with types of learning styles of our learners?
Dildora Mukhtarovna, thank you for your question. So your question is how I consider teaching new vocabulary with different learning styles.
Yes.
Yes. While doing my research work, I have found some information about different learning styles. When I read a book written by Litovchenko, here it says that Rosemary Smith has offered to divide the pupils into 4 different learning styles, such as auditory learners who can learn best when they listen to some material, and visual learners who learn best when they see, and kinesthetic learners are usually are the learners who can learn best when they act in the classroom. Yes, as you say, it's very important to pay attention to include all the learning styles when we present new vocabulary, because some of the learners can learn best when they listen and repeat the word. If we do listen and repeat activity, it can be suitable for the auditory learner. And some learners can learn best when they participate in some competitive activities like listen and do, and listen and touch, and listen and point. Here we can use
a good way to teach, right? TPR. Am I right?
TPR, yes, TPR, as Escher recommended, total physical response are also a good way. Is also a good way to include kinesthetic learners in the learning process.
Thank you.
I think TPR is very suitable for kinesthetic learners, because in TPR activity, pupils are required to act according to the instruction given by the teacher.
Yeah.
That's my.
Nargiza Turgunpo'latovna, nima deysiz? Keyingi muhokamaga o'tishimiz mumkinmi? Siz rais sifatida?
Agar vaqtimiz chegaralangan
chegaralangan
o'taveraylik, albatta.
Yaxshi, xo'p, tushunarli. Demak, endigi navbatni Hasanova
Tabriklaymiz.
Hasanova ulandim deb telefon qilyapti. Hozir biz harakat qilib ko'ramiz. Agar Hasanova ulana olsa, demak, navbatni Hasanovaga beramiz. Demak, bir daqiqa. Hasanova Gulnozaxon Dilshodovna, ilmiy mavzusi va ilmiy akademik litseylarda nutq faoliyat turlarini integrallashtirib o'qitish muammolari, problems of teaching integrated speech skills in academic lyceums. Reviewers from Namangan State University, Mr. Sohibjan Abdupatayevich, and from Uzbekistan State World Languages University, Gulyama Mavluda Hamitovna. Bilamiz, Gulyama Mavluda Hamitovna aynan shu mavzuga yaqinroq mavzuda dissertatsiya ishlarini himoya qilganlar. Demak, hozirgi navbatni biz Hasanova Gulnozaxonga beramiz. Gulnoza, tayyormisiz? Gulnoza. Gulnozaxon yana kira olmadilar shekilli. Eshitaman.
Mana vaqtdan foydalanib olay. Mana himoyada bizni eng yaqin nimalarimiz qatnashyapti ekan. Mavluda Gulyamova, Isroilova qatnashyapti ekan. Men juda ham xursandman, Nargiza qatnashyapti ekan. Uylaringizga, hammangizga salomatlik tilayman. Salomat bo'linglar. Rahmat. O'zingizlar yaxshimisizlar?
Assalomu alaykum. Yaxshimisiz? Ko'rganimizdan.
Rahmat. Rahmat.
Demak, Hasanovada yana muammo paydo bo'ldi shekilli, ulana olmayaptilar. Demak, navbatni keyingi magistrimizga beramiz. Atamirzayev Bahronjon Bahodir o'g'li, ilmiy mavzusi ingliz va o'zbek tillaridagi maqollar semantikasi va qiyosiy tasnifi. This is a comparative analysis and semantics of English and Uzbek proverbs. Reviewers from Namangan State University, Yakubayev Murodullah Marufovich, and from Andijan State University, Hasanova Fatimaxon Mamanovna.
Good afternoon, dear teacher and professor. My dissertation topic semantics and comparative classification of proverbs in English and Uzbek language. Supervised Nargiza Dostoeva, PhD, Assistant Professor. Please, before presenting my research work, I'd like to start my presentation with the speech by our President Shavkat Mirziyoyev. In today's hour of globalization, it is notion that every nation, every independent state should give priority to the protection of the national industries. First of all, the preservation and development of its culture, ancient Welsh mother tongues. So the subject and need of the topics, relevance of research work. In the course of comparative study of the and semantics of proverb in Uzbek and English to reveal the similarities and differences in the mentality of pupils, extending the degree to which the language reflects the culture and national characteristics of both pupils in order to study its essence. It is necessary to compare the articles representing the national culture of the English and Uzbek pupils to analyze the national mentality and its characteristics. My purpose of the research in the study, the main goal was to study the semantic future of proverbs in English and Uzbek languages in comparative culture and semantic way. And my research task one to determine the theoretical actions, laws, and principles of proverbs in English and Uzbek languages and to determine the future of the use of the term proverb in folklore and linguistics. To cite proverbs as different and smart aspects for other genres folklore, denoting the extent to which English and Uzbek proverbs has been studied in both languages. Research task 2. Describe the interdependence of language and culture in the analysis of linguistic cultural aspects of Uzbek and English proverbs. To study the similarities and difference between the Uzbek and English languages by making a comparative analysis of articles expressing the mentality of the English and Uzbek pupils. Recent proverbs that are very activity in English and Uzbek speech into thematic groups and conduct the semantic analysis. Research object articles in English and Uzbek, subject of research, comparative language culture, and pragmatic study of the semantics of proverbs in English and Uzbek. My dissertation chapter 1, general research on English and Uzbek proverbs, future of university in the semantics of articles, semantics scope and semantics of Uzbek folk proverbs, semantic study of English folklore proverbs, English and Uzbek folk proverbs are studied in the field chronology of folklore and different from other genres of folklore, with a number of peculiarities that is in them the idea examples in the form of a clear, complete conclusion, a concise sentence, the extension of a particular conclusion, a consistent sentence, the expense of particles, logical sequence shared, velocity ladders, and can be application in its own figurative sense. Those of comparative study of the history of the study of Uzbek and English proverbs in folklore. We have seen in wide language the level of study is perfect or shallow. Bicycle proverbs in Uzbek and English have long been collected. An example of this is the collection work of Mahmud Koshgari in Uzbek and his work, Devon Lugatu Turk, the so-called book of proverbs in English Bible. So, for work has been done to compare Uzbek and English articles to provide Uzbek translations, to provide alternatives, and prove their semantic features. Results of general lesson. So, chapter national and culture aspects of Uzbek and English proverbs semantics, lingua culture aspects of and Uzbek and English proverbs interaction of language and culture in research. Common the terms of articles in Uzbek and English, national and cultural future in Uzbek and English proverbs. So, Uzbek and English folk proverbs are very diverse in terms of subject matters. If we look at all the collection of Uzbek and English folk proverbs, we will see that there are things that happen in every aspect of the life of the.
Okay, Bahramjan, thank you for your speech. That's enough, I think. Now let's come to the discussion. Now, who has a question to Bahramjan?
Okay, can I give a question to Bahramjan?
Yes.
Question?
Okay, Bahramjan.
Yes. Oh.
Bahramjan, please tell me the differences between riddle, proverb, and saying. And can you give me some example or an example, please?
Thank you. Question in proverbs, the idea is examples in the form of clear, complete conclusion, a concise sentence. The proverb, on the other hand, does not express the wolf idea, since the form of the riddle is close to the proverbs, the why it reflects the relative difference from the proverbs in that it's expensive. The idea in my stress why. At a glance, there is a clear difference between proverbs and riddles. But the difference between proverbs and problem is little harder to understand right away. In addition to proverbs, proverbs are used folklore. It is important to know the difference between the two terms. The proverb is different for the proverbs. A proverb is type of folk metaphor used in further figurative sense. Proverbs consists of that transfer the meaning to another meaning.
Yaxshi Bahramjon, demak bir narsani tavsiya sifatida berardim. Mana shu dissertatsiyani tayyorlash jarayonida mana shu asarlardagi maqollarni tarjimalariga ham e'tibor qaratsangiz, dissertatsiya ishimizni nimasi amaliy va ilmiy ahamiyati juda oshgan bo'ladi. Misol uchun Jack Londonning Martin Eden romanida shunaqa bir holat men kuzatganman. Ya'ni strike the iron while it is hot. Ya'ni o'zbek tilida temirni qizig'ida bos degan ayni ekvivalent maqol qo'llanilgan bo'lishi mumkin-ku, lekin nimagadir tarjimon ushbu maqolni pichog'ing moy ustida turganda ishni bajarib qolgan degan mazmunda tarjima qilgan. Mana shunaqangi misollardan dissertatsiyangizda juda ham ko'p ko'rdik, lekin nimagadir bugungi taqdimotda shu narsani ko'rsata olmadingiz. Balki
uzr ustoz, o'sha joyiga yetib kelgandim dissertatsiya.
Rahmat deb qolamiz. Demak, endi hozirgina bizga demak Hasanovani taklif qilamiz, chunki Hasanova yo'lga chiqib mana yetib kelishga ulgurdi. U shu atrofda bo'lgani uchun navbat demak e'lon qildim. Mavzusini yana bir qaytarib o'tirishni zarurati yo'q deb o'ylayman. Marhamat, navbat Hasanovaga beriladi. Mana hozir ochib beraman o'zi. Mana.
O'zimdan mavjud savolimni akkauntimga uchun speaker nota qilib
Demak, Hasanovda yana ozgina tayyorgarlik ko'rish kerak ekan. Navbatni Davlat va Zarina Asqarali qiziga beramiz. Ilmiy mavzusi B1 daraja o'quvchilarning leksik kompetensiyasini rivojlantirishda korpus lingvistikaga asoslangan yondashuv texnologiyalari. This is corpus linguistic approach basic technologies in developing B1 level pupils vocabulary competence. And review is from Namangan State University, Siddiqov Qasim Abilevich, and from Andijan State University, Azizova Fatimaxon Said Bahramovna.
Okay, can I begin, teacher?
Just a minute. Is it visible to everyone? Ko'rinyaptimi? Slayd ko'rinyaptimi?
Ko'rinyapti.
Aha, Zarina, begin.
Okay. Good afternoon, dear teachers, our group mates, and other members of today's defense of dissertation work. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very delighted to be here. What a nice day, and I'm sharing it with you. I am Zarina Davlat, master's degree student of Namangan State University, and it's my turn to defend my dissertation work. And my topic is about corpus-based technologies in teaching vocabulary to B1 level students. I know that my topic may bring up a number of questions from you, and I wanted to tell that I will address as many as I can. And I have different tasks of my dissertation work. First of all, first chapter, I tried to talk about theoretical background, of course. I mean, the usage of corpora and the role of corpus linguistics. And the next part, pedagogical and needs and usefulness. In this part, I try to pay attention, implementation of corpora. And I have different tasks. First of all, what is the corpus linguistics itself and what is the role of it? And the next one, implementation of corpus linguistics, why we should use it into vocabulary. And the next task is about using modern technologies and why we use such kind of technologies. Is it so efficient in order to deliver effective lesson? And the next one, my task is improving students' vocabulary skill. And my focus is B1 level students. As the Republic of Uzbekistan became independent, there have been many changes in various spheres of country life, as well as educational system. Our President Shavkat Miramonovich Mirziyoyev paid his great attention to the development of teaching and learning foreign languages in our country, and on his strategy for action on the development of Uzbekistan. And according to the document, and learning foreign languages is so essential. It helps to enlighten the people and also broaden our outlook, especially. And language, it means a sense of human being. And without vocabulary, we cannot achieve anything. As Wilkins said, that without grammar, little can be conveyed, but without vocabulary, nothing can be conveyed. It means that if we think language as a human body, vocabulary it is as a skeleton of language. And the corpus linguistics can help in telling about language use and how it varies in different situations. It is very important part. And it is new approach in linguistics, but rather than approach, we can say it is a study of language. It's the new way of studying language. By the help of corpus linguistics, it makes our learning style more effective and essential. Imagine, for example, our native language is Uzbek, but no one can say, I am master of this language and I know this language 100%, because there are so many words, yes? And English also, and it is our second language. Besides that, it has a lot of words. And a corpus just shows what is included in it. Therefore, you cannot make a conclusion only based on it. There are different words in English, and we try to learn them according to frequently. For example, according to my presentation, it is given a boy and a big bag. It means that the words are so much, and we should choose appropriate one, and according to the frequently usage. And let's tell about, for example, high man or tall man, or handsome, beautiful, big, large. In what cases we use such kind of words. And if you open dictionaries, there are so many words, and into blankets, and there is different meaning. And some scientists said that try to learn the first meaning of the words. Others waste of time sometimes. And that's why teachers should know to teach the students frequently usage vocabulary, because we are a human being, and it is very impossible to remember all of the words. And there are different types of corpus linguistics. I mean, diachronic, historical corpora, and besides that, multilingual corpora, and such as. And the main purpose of corpus linguistic to choose right words. And we should know what does it mean to know a word, what are words learned, how many words, and which ones should we know in order to communicate effectively. Such kind of question, we should give right answers. And corpus linguistic is more than welcome university students the opportunity to become autonomous learner. And then it makes students to be more active. And we as a teachers becomes as a mediator. And besides that, we know the different notions such as explicitly and implicitly. This word means corpus linguistic based on both of them. Explicitly learning based on extensive reading. Extensive reading means you just read something besides or within outside the classroom, let's say. And there are some different words, such as language is such a big subject that is almost impossible to get my head around it. Is there a way to conveniently obtain language data so that I can study particular words or structure? Some words are relatively common and others are relatively rare. What differences does this make? Many words seem to fit together in combination. For example, or what am I to make of this? It means that we should choose common words especially, and we try to teach the students also common ones. It makes our speech more fluently. And there are some words maybe we never use during our lifetime even. That's why we shouldn't waste our time to learn all of the words. The main purpose of my dissertation work also to analyze such kind of frequently usage of different words. And I give different examples in my presentation also. Teacher, can you show next page, please? I mean, next also. This one, yes. Okay, here I gave two examples. First sentence is that I have got so many birthdays in July. Next one, I have got you. An example first, the speaker meant something like I have to deal with, because she is referring to the obligation of sending numerous birthday cake. Next one, it means I understand you. The writing system is the same, but meaning is so different. It means just implicitly reading. I mean, within the context, you can find the main meaning. And there are some words, for example, read or write or leg or hand. And we try to remember these words according to the, let's say, families. And here also another example, I take block. And corpus linguistics divided words into different stages. For example, how many percentage there are used some meaning. And we try to learn the most usage of one. For example, block. First one, block of stone. I mean, in the meaning of wood, 34% houses. I mean, next one, block of houses, obstacles, stoppage in the meaning, and 21% we use it. And next one, stumbling block. Only 1% we use this word. And the road is block up, the doorway 28% also. From the example, a teacher would know that the meaning sense of math occurs the most frequently, and so should probably be taught before the other, less frequently meaning sense. On the other hand, West suggests that the meaning sense in brackets are not worth teaching. The meaning sense of obstacle occurs so rarely that the teacher needs to consider whether it's worth teaching. Also here mention that if it is worth teaching, just leave it out. And let me talk about my experimental part especially. And here I have practical in Namangan State Technology University Institute, and here I selected 2 groups as a deliver experiment. And the first one, traditional group, of course, next one, control group. And before delivering lesson, I tried to make questionnaire part, not only students, but also teachers, and 10 questionnaire. And here I have 5 multiple choice. Besides that, 5 short answers also I had. And for traditional group students, my topic is about, my task, is about to show 7 pictures. There are about waterfall, desert, volcano, cave, such kind of things. And I tried to show these pictures. They should find the name of these places. And in order to make easier, I write with names such as Niagara waterfall or Sahara desert, such kind of I use it. And
okay, thank you, Zarina. Thank you very much. Savollarga o'tamiz, muhokamaga. Savollaringiz bo'lsa Zarinaga marhamat. Korpus lingvistika bo'yicha.
Menda savol bor edi. Well, Zarina, first of all, thank you for your very literate speech and understandable presentation. So I have been waiting for such candidates. I have two questions for you. First one, can you tell us or introduce us some representatives who made a valuable contribution to the development of this science, corpus linguistics, from abroad, maybe from Russia or from Uzbekistan? So you understood, right? The first question.
Yes.
And the second question is, some say that corpus and computer linguistics are the same. What do you think? Is there any difference between them? Big difference, small difference? What do you think about it?
Thank you, teacher, for your questions. Okay, my first answer is that I have studied different dissertation work, especially abroad, because it is a new approach for our country. And first of all, I looked through Sinclair works, because he is the foundation of this corpus linguistics. And besides that, I tried to read especially Korean researchers' work, because I studied there some time. And I am familiar with a lot of professors from Korean. That's why one of them is Nam Soo. He was my professor. He was also had dissertation work in the sphere of linguistics, but not the same as mine. Somehow differences. Especially I asked and took very important advices from this teacher. And Russian professors, I read different dissertations works or topics based on this research, corpus linguistics, but somehow the difference they may purpose not developing vocabulary skills. They include other skills also, but mine is especially delivering effective lesson in terms of improving vocabulary skills. That's why I choose different scientists' ideas and made my own. Is it okay for first question? Can I answer the second one?
go to the second question. Okay.
Okay, my answer for your second question is that corpus linguistics and yes, and the computer science is not the same. Because corpus linguistics not only based on computers, you can do it without computers even. I have searched and tried to find different activities such as filling gaps or finding antonyms, synonyms. Even you can do it without computers. I mean, it's not based on computer sometimes, but some cases you can use computers as a main part of corpus linguistics, such as concordanswers or such kind of apps you can use. It makes your time, it makes more easier if you have computers, but if you not, it is okay. It's not so a problem. It's not just based on computers. We cannot say corpus linguistics only based on computers. We cannot say that. We have used different transcribed versions of works also. For example, it has oral types of corpus linguistics also.
Thank you. Yana sizga savol berishmoqchi. Demak, Mavluda Hamitovna O'zbekiston Davlat Jahon tillari universitetidan pedagogika fanlari bo'yicha falsafa doktori. Mavluda Hamitovna, marhamat.
Thank you for your informative speech. As we know nowadays, corporate linguistics are one of the new subjects, and I highly recommend you to read Atabayev's Nazımcan's dissertation work. It means PhD. Recently, on this sphere, and I have a question here. And what is the main differences between corpus-driven and corpus-based approach? And in what ways have you improved your learners' vocabulary with the help of corporate linguistics?
Sorry, teacher, can you repeat your question? Corpus data?
Yeah, the first question is, what is the main differences between corpus-driven and corpus-based approach? Clear?
Mm-hmm.
And second one is, for example, what kind of methods or approach have you used in order to improve learners' vocabulary? What kind of methods have you touched upon and used in your research?
Okay. Teachers, thank you for your question. Okay, for my answer for your first question is that corpus data, I have used data-driven approach, such kind of approach. It is somehow look like corpus linguistics, I mean corpus-based approaches. It helps to use language appropriate and to choose words frequently usage. And corpus-driven approach, sorry for this one, but I have never used such kind of statement in my dissertation work. In my future, I tried to use it. I give a word, and my answer for your second question is that, and I use a different kind of method. First of all, comparative method I use it, and because corpus linguistic has such kind of subdivisions, such as analyzing, for example, two different languages or comparing different texts. And in my experimental group also, I gave text, such kind of text, and give them a task that among these texts try to find out most frequently usage words and the less frequently usage of words, and why the writer tried to say we in his research work or in this statement. And based on this, let's say, task, students find out words which is most frequently used, and it will be very easier for them to remember these words because it is within the text, I mean within the concept. And they try to analyze each statement. And another question I gave that where the neither or either also are used. And here also students try to give attention what kind of situation such kind of words are used. Besides that, I try to use method such as, how can I say? Stylistics method. Yes, in this type methods, there are different words or some kind of pronunciation is the same. For example, moon or noon or such kind of words. And by comparing this kind of words, it will be easier for students to remember or to differentiate the meaning of these words. Is it okay, teacher?
Okay, yes, thank you. But I also suggest you to use a task-based approach, yes, and topic-based approach. It is appropriate to especially improving corporal English. Okay.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rahmat. Demak, qo'shimcha savollar bo'lmasa, minnatdorchilik bildiramiz. Juda ham bugungi kundagi O'zbekistonga kirib kelayotgan eng dolzarb masalalardan biriga qo'l urilganligi uchun Davlat ta'lim va Zarinaga minnatdorchilik bildiramiz. Ularning rahbari Hoshimova Dildora Madaminovna ham juda ham chiroyli ish bajarilgan. Bevosita Zarina Hoshimova Dildora Madaminovnaning rahbarligida stajirovkani ham o'sha joyda o'tadi. Ustozga katta minnatdorchilik bildiramiz. Biz talabalarimiz doim qo'llab-quvvatlab, ularga o'zini beminnat, samimiy yordamini ko'rsatib keladilar. Bugun ishtirok eta olganlarga ham xursand bo'lardik. Demak, endigi navbatni keyingi tadqiqotchimizga beramiz. Hasanova Gulnoza Gulshodovna. Mavzusini takrorlab o'tirmayman. Demak, Gulnoza, navbat sizga.
Assalomu alaykum, hurmatli kengash a'zolari, hurmatli talabalar. Before I start, Domra, can I ask you to make me the host of the meeting when I'm presenting?
No, that's I'm not the organizer, because organizer from our information resource center. That's why I can only use this computer with my own. Maybe you will try yourself.
Is my voice loud enough for you to hear?
Yes.
Okay. Then, if you let me, I will start my presenting my research work. The topic of my research work is challenges to teaching integrated skills at academic lyceums. Akademik liseylarda nutq faoliyati turlarini integrallashtirib o'qitish muammolari. Next slide, please. The next slide where we have the plans. Okay, my research paper consists of 3 chapters. The first chapter is dedicated to studies of theoretical aspects of teaching English in academic lyceums based on a skills integrations approach. Chapter 2 studies methods of developing students' communicative competence in academic lyceums based on a skills integration approach. And the last chapter investigates some of the challenges of teaching English to students of academic lyceums based on a skills integration approach. Next one. Chapter 1 consists of 3 paragraphs. Paragraph 1 deals with the distinctiveness of teaching English in academic lyceums based on a skills integration approach. Second paragraph studies contemporary requirements to teaching English in academic lyceums based on a skills integration approach. And the third paragraph deals with challenges of implementing a skills integration approach in teaching English. Chapter 2 consists of 4 paragraphs. Later on during the presentation, I will stop to discuss each of the paragraphs. Next slide, please. Chapter 3 consists of 2 paragraphs, and again, during the presentation, I will stop to discuss each of the paragraphs. And all the 3 chapters end with a chapter summary. So while working on my research paper, I have issued some of my work in scientific journals and presented on scientific conferences. For instance, some of my articles were published in Republican and local journals, and I participated with my presentations at scientific practical conferences. So, next slide, please. Why the topic of teaching teaching English at academic lyceums based on a skills integration approach is relevant. As we know nowadays, most of the curriculum at academic lyceums is based on an approach where language is taught as a system. When language is taught as a system, the main focus is, as we know, on grammar rules, punctuation, pronunciation, and spelling rules, vocabulary lists. And usually, when students are taught only on an approach where focus is on the system, students are not able to hold conversation in English, but they might become proficient enough to pass standardized tests and difficult tests. However, on the other hand, if language is if focus on the communication, both formal and informal language can be taught in classes, and focus is shifted on meaning instead of form. And in that cases, students may produce English which is not grammatically correct. For instance, when they are holding a conversation with their peers, and however, they may speak and write in a way that do not follow grammar rules. So in order to achieve both fluency and accuracy in our learners as teachers, we should learn to adapt ways and approaches that will focus on language both as a system and communication. Next slide, please. Okay, the research object is to find solutions to the problems related to the integrated teaching of language skills in academic lyceums. And as a research subject, we have chosen to study linguodidactic principles of integrated teaching of language skills at academic lyceums. Next slide, please. So here are some of the goals and objectives we have put for ourselves when we were working on the research on this research paper. So the first one, we studied requirements for integrated teaching of language skills in academic lyceums. And then we also investigated some of the methods that will help to teach speaking and listening skills as a part of a language and speech skills. And the third one was we tried to study the role of integration in the formation of academic lyceum speaking, listening, reading, and writing skills. Research methods are we have made some academic analysis, studied scientific publications on the subject such as brochures, articles, textbooks, curricula, and findings. For instance, we have studied works of Uzbek scholars like Jamal Jalalev, Masirov, Tajabayev, and some of the very famous linguists like Prussian, David Nanan. We also studied theoretical and we have made some theoretical and comparative analysis of the subject, and also we have investigated some of the psychological aspects also. So what are the theoretical and practical significance of this research paper? The first one, the research paper makes the analysis of methodological requirements and improvement methods to integrate the teaching of language skills at academic lyceums, and tries to clarify several debatable concerns in the theory and practice of language teaching, and gives some, and the outcomes of this research paper and the inferences of can be extensively and effectively implemented in the future practice of teaching foreign languages in academic lyceums. So, as I have mentioned about, the research paper consists of 3 chapters. So here is the structure of the research paper. First, it's the title, introduction. So the first chapter studies characteristics of teaching English in academic lyceums, and then also investigates the current state of foreign language teaching in these educational institutions, and gives descriptions of the concepts of educational environment, makes analysis of problems of teaching language skills in English. Use of the internet technologies, for instance, is one of the challenges nowadays while teaching in foreign languages. And there is lack of electronic dictionaries with the Uzbek language translation. First chapter also makes some analysis of the model curriculum designed by the state for academic lyceums. While studying this model, the previous slide, please. While studying the model curriculum designed for academic lyceum, we have identified that some lexical units presented in this model have been already studied at secondary schools. However, there are some lexical units that have not been used in secondary curriculum. And some lexical units, although they have been studied in secondary school, they are not listed in this model. So, and the lexical minimum chosen for academic lyceum does not always reflect the language system, and the content of grammar and grammar minimum and vocabulary teaching is not clearly distinguished. So, and we made a decision that conclusion that it would be more effective if lexical units were divided into 3 groups. Next slide, please. We have also worked with the national textbooks designed for academic lyceum students for 2 years. So as you can see, national textbook, they are designed to teach 280 hours of the English language lesson in academic lyceums. Next slide, please. Next, okay. So what is the summary of chapter 1? As we know that the nature and purpose and content of education in academic lyceums are radically different from those in other educational institutions such as secondary schools. As we know, students who study at academic lyceums and this kind of educational institutions, they will become future specialists in foreign languages. Therefore, it is observed that their mental characteristics, attention, interest, their reasoning skills and mental abilities, their thinking and memory is usually higher than in general academic lyceums. Here we mean the students of the departments where English taught as a main specialty. So since at academic lyceums, educational process is focused on the practical knowledge of a foreign language and the preparation of academic lyceum students for standardized tests, the problem of teaching listening comprehension and speaking skills is attracting the attention of more and more scholars. Therefore, applying a skills integration approach to teaching foreign languages serves to students using the foreign language taught in the classroom as the main means of communication and equipping students for their future careers. Next chapter, please. So chapter 2 gives description of theoretical and linguodidactic challenges that's present in teaching English in academic lyceums. So one of the challenges is, as I have mentioned, about lack of suitable Uzbek dictionaries for lexical specialization. So, chapter 2 also makes didactic analysis of the objectives of teaching English and makes correlation of practical, educational, and developmental goals of English language teaching, and investigates methodological criteria to the selection of English language teaching materials in academic lyceums. Next slide, please. So the practical goal of teaching foreign languages is at academic lyceums is to help students acquire language skills such as listening skills, speaking, reading, and writing skills at the level required by state educational standard, which is C1 according to CEFR. So the what kind of summary conclusion we have made during these studies? We know that in real life, listening and speaking are always in harmony. Therefore, teachers need to teach these skills using a skills integrated approach. And modern textbooks should include listening comprehension text as well. More exercises, more activity that will focus on listening. And preparatory exercises can also include exercises aimed at developing memory. For example, some of the activity that might be included are listening to words and trying to memorize, or listen and repeat the words. These kind of activities will help develop memory of the students. The integration of language skills exposes English learners to real language and makes interaction natural. In this way, English becomes a real tool for them to communicate in real life situations. Chapter 3 studies integrated teaching of speaking and listening skills, as we have identified this integrated teaching of these two skills at academic lyceums is one of the biggest challenges. Linguistic, psychological, and methodological principles of the integrated teaching of speaking skills and listening skills should be considered while designing lesson plans. And chapter 3 also gives some methods, recommends some methods that are helpful in the development of communicative competences, and studies the importance of the integrated approach in language teaching. Some of the methods that are recommended in this research work are integrated approach, and where teacher tries to create and design lesson plan that focus on integrated teaching of language skills. And in order to design these kind of lesson plans, activities, or tasks, teachers should be able to create communicative situations in their classrooms where students will have a chance to use their language for real-life communication. So one of the most important quotes that I want to highlight here, as English language teachers should provide students to frequently interactive activities in their classroom and to real-life communication situations, because communications implies interactions, and this is done through real work outside the classroom situation. So in the classroom, within the classroom, as teachers, we should help our learners to use English in situations, in real life situations, and create tasks and activities where students will use the language which later on they would be able to apply in their future careers as well. And we should remember that in daily practice, listening and speaking, they are in harmony. So the whole conclusion of the research work is that we can note that listening and speaking, reading and writing competences are complex skills, and therefore they need to be developed consciously, and they can be developed with practice in classroom through activities which promote interaction between students. And I would like here to highlight the importance of the word interaction once again. The study has also tried to show that it's easier to obtain students' participation and motivation when the suggested materials are entertaining, original, and surprising. This can be achieved by using, for instance, authentic materials in classes, because as we know, students, especially when they are in their teenage ages, they are more interested in topics that are not related to their everyday experiences. Therefore, use of authentic materials will highly increase their motivation and engagement in classes. These activities will also allow students to feel more comfortable and lower the affective filter, and they will be able to hold a conversation in a more free way. So this is all of my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions.
Mavluda Hamitovna?
Yes.
Iltimos, agar savolingiz bo'lsa, talabamizga berishni xohlardik, chunki sizni mavzungizga yaqinroq magistr dissertatsiyasi bo'lgan nazarimda. Integrallashga.
Yes. Very interesting topic, especially Gulnoza, you tried to give interesting information about, yes, and you talked about integrated approach. And besides integrated approach, what kind of approaches do you have? And second question, what is the main differences between integration and segregation?
Okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to clearly make out your question as your voice is very low. I don't know. I think the problem is with my device. As if I understood you correctly, you are asking about the differences between integrated and disintegrated approaches. Am I right?
We have no disintegration. We have no such kind of terminology. I mean segregation.
Segregated and integrated approaches.
Integrated and
so, okay, thank you for your question. The main difference is when we are applying integrated approach, we want our students to be able to focus not only the structure or the form of the language. We want them to be able to use them in a meaningful situations and apply in different real life contexts. So when we are teaching English and using this
segregation.
Okay. When we are using teaching English, applying mainly segregated approach, it means each skills are taught separately, which I think one of the main challenges nowadays. And this challenge can be justified with the requirements of this state test, standardized test that the students of academic lyceums have to take upon graduating these educational institutions. These tests, as we know, are mainly focused on evaluating their reading skills and their grammar competences. Therefore, teachers, they have to choose the segregated approach and mainly focus and create their lessons around this approach. When they teach each skill separately and they do not try to make any kind of correlation between reading and writing, for example, or reading and speaking, and this is the main difference. For example, in an integrated approach, students will be able to use the materials or resources they have, the as we call it, language input that they have received while doing a reading task or listening activities. They will be able to apply them in their speaking or in their writing. It means the follow-up activities after reading or listening task, they kind of lead students to use the language they have received while doing reading tasks to use in their speaking or to use in their writing. This is the main difference.
Rahmat. Yana qo'shimcha savollar bormi? Bizda yarim soat vaqt qoldi va himoyada ikkita navbatda turibdi. Demak, savollar bo'lmasa, keyingi magistrlarga navbat berishimiz mumkinmi? Nargiza Turg'unpo'latovna, nima deysiz?
Albatta, davom ettirsak, oxiridagi xulosaga ham ozgina vaqt qolishi kerakda.
Rahmat, Nargiza Turg'unpo'latovna. Demak, keyingi navbatimizni To'raxon va Xosiyatxon Mahamadolimovnaga beramiz. Ilmiy mavzusi o'rta umum ta'lim maktablarida klasterli yondashuv asosida ingliz tili o'qitish metodlari. English language teaching methods based on cluster approach in general secondary schools. And the reviewer from Namangan State University, Mr. Sohibjon Abdulpatayevich, and from Namangan Engineering Technology Institute, Hashima Dildora Madalinovna.
No, it's not mine.
Sorry. Yaxshi, hozir.
Ikkita himoyada kutib turgan ikkita dissertantlarimizni nima qilamiz?
Bo'lmasa gapiring, 2 minut gapiring mavzungiz haqida, chunki ertaga yakshanba kuni dam olish kuni o'qituvchilarimizni bezovta qilaverishimiz maqsadga muvofiq emas. Gapiravering mavzungiz haqida qisqacha. Nimada? Boshlang.
Yes, of course. Good afternoon, dear teachers, professors, and groupmates. Okay. I conducted a survey. Yes, okay. I conducted a survey in secondary school number 11 in Namangan. My object of my research are pupils of 11th grade, and can you talk? It's control group. Before.
This one?
No.
Gapiravering, shuni olamiz, gapiravering. Nutqingizni gapiravering, men topib olaman.
Okay. And firstly, I learned activities which were aimed to teach English vocabulary, and I conduct my research to teach those vocabulary activities by cluster approach. And activities in people's book were aimed to teach for some specific methods like content and language integrated learning, or I don't know, I know, or I'm not sure. And after observing these activities, I use some cluster for those activities. Some activities for which were taken activity 2nd of the unit 5th, and I make a cluster design.
Okay, yangiligini gapiring, nima yangilik, nima xulosaga keldingiz? Yangiligi nima ekan klaster texnologiyasi?
Klaster texnologiyasi ikki xil ma'noda ishlatilar ekan. Birinchisi ta'limda klaster texnologiyasi bu maktab sistemasini keyingi bosqich ta'lim sistemasi bilan hamkorlikda ishlashi va iqtisodiy klasterlar kabi atamalar mavjud ekan. Ta'limda klasterning asosiy maqsadi bu maktabni oliy ta'limdan yoki boshlang'ich ta'limdan uzilmagan holda ish olib borish. Keyingisi so'zlarni, klaster metodini so'zlarni eslab qolishda, tarjimasiz usulda yodlashlari uchun katta samara berishligi. Xo'p, bunda klaster metodi bilan birga yana bir qancha o'yinlar, metodlarni qo'shimcha ravishda birga olib borish mumkin. Masalan, so'zlarni yaxshi eslab qolishlari uchun Chinese Whisper degan gamedan foydalandik. Doskaga main word yozilgandan keyin keyingi idealarni agar o'quvchi uchun notanish so'z yozilgan bo'lsa, Chinese Whisper o'yini orqali keyingi tarmoqlarini to'ldirdik. Xo'p, 11A sinf o'quvchilarini A gruppasida olib borilgan natijalarga ko'ra tadqiqotdan olingan oldingi o'sha tadqiqot savollari bo'yicha olingan natijalarga ko'ra ularning natijasi 64.7% bo'lgan bo'lsa, tadqiqotdan so'ng ingliz tili leksikasini bilish ko'rsatkichi 74% ga chiqqanligi aniqlandi. Bunda o'sha 5-unitdan boshlab 10-unitgacha bo'lgan har bir unit
yaxshi, hop,
test.
Tushunarli. Demak, shu yerda to'xtaymiz. Bizda oxirgi himoyachimiz bor. Kenjayev Azamat. Azamatga navbatni beramiz. Marhamat. Azamat, navbat sizga. Azbek, gapiring. Qisqa gapiring.
Okay. Good afternoon, dear professors, teachers. Okay, because we have very short of time, I'm deeply excited to reach this position, defending period of my dissertation work, and this is very honor of me. And so, for my topic of my dissertation work is factors of integration of modern methods and technologies in English language teaching. So first of all, I emphasize on the methods, the modern methods and technologies this time, and my supervisor, Hoshimova Dildora Madaminova from Namangan Engineering Technology Institute, Doctor of Philological Sciences. And as you can see in the slide, my plan consists of 3 chapters and 6 sub-chapters. And my in order because of very lack of our time, okay, let's talk about the methods, some methods, and we have so in other words, we have lots of methods, teaching methods. I can count them, like natural methods, audiolingual methods, humanistic approach, suggestion, silent methods, as our how can I say one of the professors said TPR, and so total physical response, and the communicative language teaching, and so to be brief, I would like to say about flipped learning classroom. Flipped learning classroom. So first of all, what is the flipped classroom method? Okay, flipped classroom method is also known as a blended learning teaching model, where students need to get acquainted with some theory, like watching a video or study new vocabulary on their own. So, and the founder of this, the reason why I chose this method is this is one of the one of the most modern, how can I say, the methods of our time, and the founder of this method is John Bangman and Auron Sams, are widely recognized of the founder of flipped classroom. And so you can have a question like, what is a flipped classroom itself exactly? Okay, I'll try to answer to this question briefly. In flipped classroom, as I said, and as I mentioned before, also known like a blended method, like an inverted classroom. Students review lecture materials before class. I mean in advance. And in class time, the class time is dedicated to discussion. The discussion, interactive exercises, and independent work that would have previously been completed at home.
Azizbek, sizga minnatdorchilik bildiramiz. Demak, biz komissiya tarkibi bilan alohida ko'rishib, sizlarni baholaringni qo'yib, xudo xohlasa dushanba kuni baholaringni e'lon qilamiz. Nargiza Do'stboyeva Turg'un Pulatovlar bilan maslahatlashganimizdan keyin ertaga dushanba kuni sizlarga baholarni e'lon qilamiz. Tushunarlimi?
Thank you very much, teachers.
Hammaga rahmat, minnatdorchilik bildiraman. Tabriklayman muvaffaqiyatli himoya bilan. Sog' bo'linglar. Tez orada uchrashguncha deb qolaman.